So I said to all of you in last week's video that I would have a surprise for you today. Well, here it is. The Kawasaki ZH2. If you've ever wondered what it's like to pilot an alien spacecraft, well, this is about as close as you're gonna get. This thing sports a 998cc inline-4 supercharged engine that produces 197 horsepower at the crank. Now that might not sound like an awful lot compared to some motorcycles that you see nowadays, but man, do you feel it. It's just an epic experience. Now today's video is not going to be a review per se, it's more like a first impressions video where I'm just going to go over my experiences that I've had over the 40 miles or so that I've ridden it, and yeah, just tell you a bit about it and tell you why this is a special motorcycle right here. Right, what we'll do, we'll mount up and let's go for a ride. You could just hear that supercharger. You know when I said about alien spacecrafts, if you have seen that film Independence Day and you listen to the sounds that the alien craft make in that movie, this sounds exactly like that with the supercharger. Oh, it's so cool.
Shoot that green shit at me.
That sound that the turbine makes is the turbine going at supersonic speeds. It's breaking the sound barrier. That's what that sound is. It's so cool. I mean, okay, in first, second, third gear, this thing pulls. Oh, it pulls so hard. But then you get to fourth, fifth and sixth gear, that's kind of when the torque disappears somewhat and it becomes, you know, a bit more civilized, shall we say. But yeah, what a machine this is. Oh. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll tell you the story behind this motorcycle. I went on a Kawasaki demo day event and they had motorcycles there that you could test ride. And one of them was a ZH2. Now bearing in mind, at the time I didn't actually know what the ZH2 was. It was a... It only released the ZH2 last year. The first model was last year's release, and I originally wanted to either have a go on a Ninja H2 or a H2 SX, but I'm so glad that they had this out. 'Cause man, okay, a Ninja H2 is a faster motorcycle, it's a lighter motorcycle. And it has significantly more power than this one, the ZH2, but at the same time, that's a super sport. The Ninja H2 is a super sport, and the CBR that I had, it was also a super sport, the 600RR. And I don't think I've always been curious about naked bikes. If they did have a Ninja H2 there, or the H2 SX, the H2 SX is a bit of a boring motorcycle, even though it's supercharged and has a very similar engine to what this motorcycle has. It's significantly heavier. It's about 10-15 kilos heavier. So you don't feel that torque as bad. Now this motorcycle is 239 kilos, which sounds like a lot, but when you ride it, honestly, it feels exactly the same as the CBR, which I think was sub sub 200 kilos. Yeah, it really doesn't feel like a heavy bike whatsoever. It feels so nimble. And yeah, when I did the test ride at the demo event, I just fell in love. I absolutely fell in love with this motorcycle, and I had to have one. And the funny thing is that I'd never really, I was always curious about naked bikes, but the next bike I was going to buy wasn't actually going to be a naked bike. It was going to be something like an R1 or maybe a Fireblade, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I rode this, and all of a sudden I started getting these feelings for naked bikes. Now, I'm going to put this out there right now. I am not a Kawasaki fanboy. Yes, most of the bikes I have owned have been Kawasaki's. However, when I was actually considering buying a naked bike, my first choice was not this motorcycle. I thought that it was out of my price range. And so the motorcycle that I was really looking at, as my number one pick, was a Yamaha MT-10. That is actually what I originally looked at getting. I've never owned a Yamaha before, but that MT-10 looked insanely good, and I wanted a similar experience to what I had on this ZH2 on another motorcycle, that one that was cheaper. And yeah, an MT-10 is what I would have got. I did look at a CB1000 from Honda, but I don't know, they didn't seem as crazy as the MT-10 does. MT-10 produces what, 167 horsepower, 160 horsepower, something like that, and a butt ton of torque. And so that was the bike I had my heart set on. But it was my birthday recently, and to my surprise, my wife and my family knew that I had this experience on this motorcycle, and they helped me with a deposit on this bike, and I can't thank them enough for the aid, for the help in getting this bike. Because yeah, when I had that test ride, I did fall in love with this motorcycle, but literally I thought that I would never ever be able to afford to own one, and here we are. I have one, and I do not regret it for a second. 47 miles is the odometer at the moment. 47 miles. Now look, I am going to get off this road in a moment. Hopefully the next road I'll be on will be a bit more open, so I can show you that supercharger, so you can hear that supercharger a bit more, because that is the party trick for this bike. That supercharger, it adds so much flavor to the riding experience. So super nakeds, well, this is a super naked, but I would seriously call it a muscle bike, because that is how it feels, that's how it sounds. It's like in those old 1960s and 1970s cars, American muscle cars, where they'd have the superchargers, just sticking out of the bonnet or the hood, and what they sound like, and the horsepower and stuff like that. This is what this bike sounds like. It's what it feels like. It's like being in a Ford Mustang. Like it doesn't. It's not the fastest bike in the world by any means. It's something like, its top speed is 160 something miles an hour. Oh, the front wheel just wants to come up every time. Oh, the supercharger. It's insane. Oh, yeah. It's not the fastest bike in the world at all. I think my Honda CVR might actually have been faster than this motorcycle in terms of top speed. But that feeling that you get, that pull, that torque, man, Kawasaki have tuned this bike well for the audience it's going for. This is more of a city bike. This is a motorcycle that you can ride day in, day out as a commuter, but still have a massive amount of torque and a massive amount of horsepower. My ZZR 1400 has more horsepower and it has more torque than this bike does, but it doesn't feel like it. This bike feels mad compared to the ZZR, and you'd have thought it was the other way around. No, the ZZR is a very gentle experience when you consider the kind of performance numbers that bike is putting out. This bike for a 1 litre is putting out some ridiculous numbers, performance numbers, but the way it feels to ride, it feels stupid, absolutely stupid, but in a really good way. Oh, and I was getting a little bit nervous about, you know, when I had this bike confirmed and the credit agreement went through and all that, that I wasn't going to have the same experience that I had on the test ride. Oh man, oh it's exactly the same feeling, exactly the same experience that I remember. That addicting torque. Oh yeah, that this is a feeling you don't get very much on motorcycles, and yes, I got that feeling on the ZZR 1400, yes I did, but this is different. This is not a beast, this is a monster. This is a demon that you can unleash in this teeny tiny engine. I mean, a 1 litre, okay, is not a tiny engine, but it's kind of becoming the norm nowadays. Most motorcyclists are going to 1 litres instead of 750s or 900s. They're going to 1 litres. This is not your bog standard 1 litre. I'm trying to find words to describe it, and when we actually do our full review, I'll have some better ways to describe the feeling of this bike, but that will come in the near future when I put some proper mileage on this bike and I've properly gotten to know it. But this engine, Kawasaki have made a masterpiece. This motorcycle is insanely comfortable. You're sitting in an upright position. I mean, those of you that ride naked bikes day in, day out, you'll know exactly how this feels. You know, really comfy seating position. You're sitting upright, effectively. It's almost like you're just cruising everywhere. It's great. The seat, I will say, is harder than I'm used to. It's a harder seat than the ZZR by far. The ZZR 1400 has a much more comfy seat. But I mean, so far that's the only gripe I have with this bike, and it's only superficial. I can get myself an aftermarket seat for cheap and it would be perfect, almost absolutely perfect. But yeah, the feeling this motorcycle gives you, oh, like, okay, listen, if you guys have been on 1 litres before, sport bikes, whatever, cruisers, 1 litres, what doesn't matter, 1 litre of any kind, test ride one of these and you'll understand what an experience this is, how different it is. So most 1 litres, most 1 litre sport bikes, they have their power at the top end of the range, so you're looking at, you know, 10,000 RPM and above, basically. Yes, they do have torque lower down, and, you know, yes, they do have power lower down in the rev range, but the mad power is right at the top end. The mad power of this is literally the entire rev range. That mid-range, the front wheel just comes up every time in first, second and third gear at that mid-range. It packs such a punch in torque when you get kind of 3,000 to 4,000 RPM and over. It is maddening and it is so addicting. Just, oh, I promised that I wasn't going to throw this bike around too hard just yet, you know, seeing as I've only done 100 miles and the tyres aren't necessarily going to be worn in just yet. But yeah, man, this oh, I am struggling for words here, guys and gals, honestly. This is such a treat to ride this motorcycle, and you know, and it wasn't a pipe dream. Literally, I got on it, and when I went out for that test ride, I originally wanted to film it. I might have said this to you before in a past video that I wanted to film the test ride experience that I had on the ZH2, but unfortunately they wouldn't allow journalists to film whilst on the ride. I did narrate it. Yeah, so I did have my dictaphone with me and I recorded the experience, so I had a future reference of what it felt like. And I got really bummed out that I couldn't film it, because literally I only went there to film the test ride for you guys, so I had a different motorcycle to appear on the channel, and it was not meant to be. But from that point on, I knew this is the next bike I had to have, or at least at some point in my life I had to have this motorcycle, and I got it a lot sooner than I was expecting. And yeah, I am so glad. Here we go. I didn't even give it 100%. That was like 50% throttle. 50% throttle. Oh man, we're gonna have some fun videos to shoot on this thing. I can't wait to show you guys more of this motorcycle. But anyway, guys and gals, I'm not going to keep you too long. This is literally just the first impressions video about what this bike feels like to ride, and the words escape me. The adrenaline that you get on this bike. I know it sounds weird that it's only a 1 litre and it only produces 200 horsepower when there are bikes that are way faster than this, but I promise you, that torque, even in 4th gear, that torque is insane. Not to mention the sound it makes. Oh god. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna save whatever vocabulary I have left on this motorcycle for another video. Oh, that front wheel came up then. Oh. Yeah, that'll do for this video, guys and gals. Please make sure to leave a comment, like and subscribe as usual if you want to see more of the ZH2. But I will see you all in the next video. Have a good one. Oh, I swear I have an orgasm every time I hear that noise. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it.